It can be really, really challenging for us to see that our strengths can also be weaknesses and that our weaknesses can really highlight our strengths and point us to what we might not be seeing within ourselves. And as we get closer and closer to the turn of the seasons and move from summer to fall, we see balance coming more into the world around us, right? More the days are becoming equal in light and dark, slowly but surely, and it's a portal or a liminal time, a space for us to see in ourselves that balance, that equality between strength and weakness. And one of the ways we can do that is by understanding our archetype and looking at where we might be tipping the scales to either our strengths or our weaknesses. And that's what we're talking about in today's podcast episode. We know that you were born magical. We know that you are intuitive, and we know that you are brimming with everyday enchantment. Here at the Sisters Enchanted, we believe in intention, we believe in intuition, and we believe in everyday magic. Welcome in to the Expedition to Soul podcast. I'm Sarah, founder of the Sisters Enchanted. Welcome to this episode of Expedition to Soul. I have been thinking a lot, seeing in my life recently how this idea of strengths and weaknesses really being two sides of the same coin, how this is playing out in my life. So I am very good at making plans, and I'm very good at structure and seeing things through, which is really interesting because I'm a Sagittarius and I have a Sagittarius stellium. I have 5 planets in Sagittarius, and then I also have Pluto and Mars in my Scorpio. Um, and I'm a Cancer rising. So there's like a lot of water, a lot of fire, and it would definitely like be contrary, I think, to think that I would be a very structured sort of person. Um, and I love freedom in my life, and I know that structure is what grants me freedom. And I think that is really counter to what a lot of people would think initially, right? Like that the more structure you have, the less freedom you're going to have. But that's simply not true. And when I think of astrology, we're going to talk about archetypes today, but just like thinking about how this plays out in my life, my Sagittarius stellium is in the 6th house, which is ruled by Virgo. So that makes a lot of sense, though. Virgo is very structured and it's an earth sign. And I kind of have that energy underlying all of that fire for me. So that does make some sense that I would have like thrive. My desire to be free and be able to do whatever I want in a day really hinges on structures that I've put into place. And without structures, I don't have that freedom because the structures allow me to create that space, right? And that's two sides of the same coin. What do I want here? I want freedom, which is one side, but it's structure, the other side, that creates that. It's the balance between the two that allows me to have what I desire. Now, when we look within ourselves, we have these dualities going on within us all the time. And our new issue of Stay Magic, it's our free digital magazine. So make sure you grab your copy if you haven't yet. Our theme for this issue is around duality and the story of Persephone. So if you don't know that story, you're going to want to get the magazine and read the retelling in there written by our teacher, Kelly Soroka. It's beautiful, and the whole magazine is centered sort of on this theme. But real, just like quick highlight, Persephone she is a deity of both the underworld and of spring. Half the year she has to live as the queen of the underworld, and the other half she lives above ground with her mother. And there's a whole story involved. So you're going to want to read the story. But what we have there is duality, right? There's the dark and there's the light. She brings the death and she brings the life back to the earth again. And it's two sides of one coin, of one cyclical process. And this is a beautiful time of year to think about that in our own lives, where we have strength, where we have weakness, where we have light, where we have dark, and how they play together. Because with the equinoxes, which happen twice per year in the fall and in the spring, we have equal light and equal dark in where we are. We can see that. Now, the reality is that the earth is, uh, literally scientifically in half light, half dark every single day. But depending where you live in the world, if you live in a place like I live in Connecticut and we see all four seasons, we don't see that it's half light, half dark. There's parts of the year where there's more light and there's parts where there's more darkness. And so from our perception, we're seeing that equal light and equal dark. And that's what it comes down to really is perception and how we are perceiving our strengths and our weaknesses. And as we're seeing it play out around us, it's a beautiful reminder to us to look at that within as well. So, what I want to talk to you about today specifically is our expansion archetypes. Now, if you don't know yours, we have a quiz so you can find yours. And really, the information I'm going to give you is relevant even if you don't know your archetype. So, you can still listen in and get a lot out of this. But when you know yours, there is a creation energy and there is a constriction energy to all of the archetypes. And when you're looking at them in terms of that duality, you can see where perhaps you might be leaning on one side and not the other, or where you're letting a strength or a weakness sort of take hold in your life right now. So, for example, the last time I took the quiz, I came out with the archetype of a mapper, which, if you've been around for any period of time, was a surprise to me. I've never had that result before. But the thing about the expansion archetypes is that it's designed so that your energy in any point in time will really shine through and let you know sort of where you are and how you're perceiving the world around you right then and there. So it makes sense to me when I pulled back and thought about what's going on in my life. But as a mapper, I described to you that I love freedom. And so I need so much structure in order to have that freedom and that ability to really do what I want to do on any given day in life, in work, like everywhere. I thrive on structure. And what I've been seeing in my life, though, is where this can actually be a weakness to me is that I will try to overstructure like other people. I will try to, because it's such a strength for me. I'm very good at planning. I'm very good at building processes and seeing bigger pictures. But where that can become a sabotage is when I see it for others around me and they don't see it for themselves. And then there's disagreement, right? There's frustration, there's friction in relationships because I am trying to put my strength into their life, or they're, taking away their power to make decisions for themselves because I'm like just overflowing with this strength that I'm trying to put on everybody around me. So while that's a strength, that can actually sabotage what I desire, my ability or my desire to feel free in my life, my desires to feel joyful, my desires to laugh and have fulfilling relationships and feel like my cup is overflowing, right? And in that way, my strength becomes sabotage. And so my weakness, though, as a mapper might be in trusting myself that I will know the right thing to do, even if I don't see the structure. So the structure can also be this like overcompensation to make myself feel safe. Now, this doesn't say I shouldn't do it because it's what makes me feel good. And ultimately it does allow for this freedom. But the question here is there truly balance? Is there truly like, am I in half of am I bringing out that expansion energy, or am I sitting in the constriction energy? And always checking that about myself. And I've seen this a lot in my life recently. My grandmother wanted to take a trip somewhere, and there were some other family members that maybe wanted to go, maybe not. Like it was kind of wishy-washy knowing. And I book trips for my grandparents. They're not able to do that for themselves. So I found a house, and then I was thinking like, okay, well, one of these relatives can't do stairs. My grandparents can't do stairs. So we have to have first floor bedrooms, and just started thinking of all these things, right? Next thing I know, it's like 3 hours later. And I really had to say that I had to pull myself back and remind myself that this strength again can quickly lead to self-sabotage and constriction, because now I'm planning for other people who haven't even really committed and who can also plan for themselves. Like these other people don't require me to do it for them. And for me, that was a great moment to remind myself of that balance, that just because I can do something doesn't mean I should. There's a time and there's a place right? And living in both like that, I'm going to do it and then I'm going to release control to other people to do for themselves. That's finding that duality within your strengths, within your weaknesses, within yourself. And that's how we can keep ourselves more grounded, more centered, more balanced. And this time of year is just a beautiful invitation to help us see that within ourselves, where we're going to take our strength and then actually end up sabotaging ourselves because we haven't pulled back and found that sense of balance. So I'm going to run through the expansion archetypes. You can find this information in our free digital magazine. So you're going to want to grab yours. But if you are a mapper, we want to look at structure and unpredictability. So, where can we bring some more balance between the desire for structure and allowing for unpredictability? Also, balancing like concrete plans with allowing your intuition to move through, and then trusting yourself on both ends of that spectrum. With our wanderers, I've had a lot of wanderer energy in me since the expansion archetypes were created. And wanderers will want to do, and just like keep moving, keep doing things, and demonstrate their worth by doing. So, wanderers really want to balance this experience of life, the experience of doing, with the experience of being still and finding worthiness in rest, as well as this outward energy of doing. So with wanderers, this the two sides to the coin is that you're worthy for doing, but you're also worthy for resting. You're worthy no matter what. With our mappers, that two sides of the same coin is that you can create structure and you can also trust your intuition. And you can trust yourself. So a mapper learning to trust themselves in both of those areas. With an adventurer will just sort of go all in and kind of have a fear of being rejected. Or being seen as somebody who won't commit or go all in, I guess is more accurate. So with an adventurer, then we want this balance of like, heck yes, I'll come to this thing, and also pausing before responding. So there's a strength in being the one who will raise their hand for people around you, but there's also strength in saying, let me get back to you. There's strength in both of those things. And with an adventure, it's also this trusting yourself and trusting that trusting that you are valuable no matter what it is that you decide to do in a moment. So being calculated versus being thoughtful, with a adventure, like calculated in your adventure, but also thoughtful around why you want to have that adventure, right? All right, with dreamers, focusing on balancing this ability to see like future and past and what could have been and what could be, what should have been, what should be, what could have, would have, should have. Balancing these dreams with being realistic in the present moment. So a dreamer wants to take that energy of being able to see all this history and all this possible future, with also being present and releasing unrealistic expectations as related to the present. And then our seers want to balance their intuitive being, their like really spiritual connected selves, with the physical plane, and take into account that you can be whole and accepted for having your head in the clouds and also being part of the community and being vulnerable and putting yourself out there. So if you know your expansion archetype, you can start to think about, what are the different sides? What's the expansive side versus the constricted side of the expansion archetype that you are, and how do you see it in your life right now? So again, in my experience as a mapper, it's really interesting to see where I might want to check into this need for structure, this need for knowing every move, with remembering that I can trust myself to create the life I desire, even if I don't know what's coming, but also not to sabotage by overusing my skill and burning myself out. So whatever your special thing is, where, you just do it better than everybody else, that doesn't mean you should do it all the time, because eventually you will burn yourself out or get resentful that nobody else is raising their hand to do it or say, yes, I want to help with this, right? And this is where you want to check into that with this energy in this time of year also, and just have a chat with yourself. Am I in balance? Am I in the equal rest and the equal doing? Is there a shadow part of me that's taking over a lot of my life right now? And how can I bring some of that into light? When you look at your expansion archetype, what is the manifesting energy of your archetype and what is the lack and restriction energy? And how can you move flow the restriction into that creation energy? And also not allow that like constant creation to burn you out and sabotage you. These are all things we can look at this time of year. So if you don't have the copy, it's totally free of Stay Magic. You're going to want to grab that and you're going to want to take the expansion archetypes quiz if you haven't in a while or if you've never taken it before. But whatever you do with that information, just lean in to the energy of finding balance and understanding that, again, strengths and weaknesses, light and dark, they're all two sides of the same coin. And we can tap into this energy of balance every single day, because the reality is that our earth is always in balance. There's always a midpoint of the day. There's twice per lunar cycle when the moon is half illuminated to us. We have these constant reminders of looking for balance and looking for equal light, equal dark, and seeing these dualities. And though right now we're particularly seeing it around us, if you live in a place where you have seasons and you notice those changes within the days. I certainly do where I am. All right, y'all. So some duality and archetype energy for you and digging deep within. And then what do you do with this information? Well, you rest or you take action, or maybe I don't know. What could be really cool right now? Baking some like black and white cookies, or finding like maybe spending taking an hour and spending half the hour doing and then half the hour resting, and just looking for ways to really feel this energy of give and take, and like the two sides to everything that we're experiencing in life right now. That duality, like really creating the duality and making it part of your life as a nod to this energy, and really living life as a practice, not just skating through, but everything you're doing every day, it can be part of your practice and life creation and purposeful, conscious creation of the life you desire to be living. Okay, so check out that magazine. We also have a free Season of the Witch event coming up very soon. And you're going to want to get the details on that, because we haven't done a class like this in years and years and years. And we're really excited to do it as we step into autumn and don our witch hats and the leaves change. And it's just the perfect time, perfect energy for all of it. All right, y'all. Thanks for listening in. And until next time, I hope that you have an enchanted rest of your day ahead. If you liked this episode of the Expedition to Soul podcast, please rate, review, subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, it will really help us spread everyday magic, intention, and intuition to the masses, and helps us so much as a small business. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. There are new episodes every Tuesday. And as always, thank you so much for listening and being part of the community here at the Sisters Enchanted. And we'll see you in the next episode.